is Irene Kurka and I welcome you to this podcast, Neue Musik, leben. I have studied classical singing, but I'm now singing lots of contemporary and experimental music. If you would like to know more about me, please look at my website www.irenekurka.de. I will put this information for you into the show notes. And if you would like to know ahead of time what's coming up, what I'm talking about, where I'm singing, I invite you cordially to subscribe to my newsletter. You can find this also on my website. I talk in this podcast all around topics, all around contemporary, new, experimental music. I share with you the insights, the background knowledge, and I really want to bring you the human beings out of this new music world closer. I'm cooperating with the NMZ, Neue Musikzeitung, which is a big paper in Germany, and I think it's also an awesome paper. You should check it out. I also thank you so much for all your feedbacks, your emails, that you take your time to write me what's going on with you, or what inspired you when you listened to my podcast. I'm also proud to mention that in April, my podcast is now 5 years old, and I can't believe it myself that I have been doing this for such a long time now, and that I'm still having so much fun with it, and I'm so happy that you are listening to it. That I became part of your life. And there are now over 190 episodes, and I think almost 30 in English. There will be more in English, yes. There is a birthday episode with the musicologist Ryan Dohoney. He is a professor at Northwestern University. He's an amazing musicologist and author. You should really check him out. And it was such an honor and pleasure for me that he has interviewed me in this birthday episode. And I think he asks very interesting questions. It's a very interesting talk. But I guess all of you who know Ryan know that, he has a different and I find a very interesting and deep approach to music and people and musicians and friendship. In today's podcast, I talk with the amazing singer and composer Agata Zubel from Poland. And she's really, really amazing. So you should also check out her website, her music. And she will have a premiere at Wittener Tage for Neue Kammermusik in Germany, which is one of the oldest and biggest new music festivals that is cooperating with WDR 3, with the artistic director Patrick Hahn. And on the weekend, 21st to 23rd of April, there are so many great concerts in Witten. You should really check it out. We will also put this link into the show notes. And Agata Zubel has her premiere scheduled for Harmony of the Spheres for 6 voices. And this will be on Sunday morning, the 23rd at 11 a.m. at the Blote Vogel Schule Aula. All of those concerts will also be then broadcasted at the WDR. So if you cannot come to Witten, you have the chance to listen to it on the radio. And as I said, we will put all the informations into the show notes that you can come in person to Witten or listen to the radio shows with all this great music. So now enjoy the interview with Agata Zubel. Hello, Agata Zubel. I heartily and cordially welcome you into my podcast, Neue Musik, leben, today.
Hello.
And the great world of technique. We can talk here in Poland and I'm in Germany, but the technical world makes it possible. You are amazing, and I'm also very impressed that you're a composer and a singer, and we will definitely talk about that. The first question I have for you is, how did you find your way into the new and experimental music?
I started my musical education playing percussion instruments. So it also means that percussion instruments, it's a very open sound environment. It's lots of strange sounds, not only vibraphone, marimba, or even drums, but lots of small instruments making strange noises and huge amount of instruments, first of all. This probably means that my musical imagination was somehow shaped by these musical experiences from early childhood, and also this is for percussion. There are mostly 20th century music. Of course, you can play Bach on marimba, but this is strange and seldom, yeah. But mostly the original repertoire is written by at least 20th century composers. So for me, it was familiar from the very beginning, and I never had this feeling that I have to change everything in my life, change what I like in music, and then I have to push myself to contemporary music. No, not at all. I always liked it, and I also started writing, of course, very simple pieces when I was a child. So composition came very early in my life. So this was also probably very natural for me to be interested in contemporary music.
It's really interesting. So you started composing before you started to sing, or?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I started as I always wanted to be a composer. This was always my dream when I was a child, which is maybe strange, but now I am, so I'm happy to be. And as I said, I started early to compose, and then when I had to choose my studies, it was composition. And the singing came after. And actually, this is a very strange story because once I wrote a piece for voice, for contemporary voice, and it was a situation that one singer, famous singer, came to city where I live, where I studied. This was Wrocław in Poland, and she had a recital of contemporary vocal music. And I was asked to write a new piece for her because organizers wanted to have a premiere during the concert. And I remember I was really thinking, what should I do? What does it mean, like contemporary vocal singing? What she can do? What should I write? And it was really a challenge for me. I wrote the piece and she sang it. Everything was great. But then, because I wrote it during my semester, during my school year, then we had each year we had a concert at the end of the semester, and I tried to find my colleagues, vocalists, to present the piece for our composers concert. And I asked all the singers, and of course nobody wanted to sing it. This was a little bit experimental. The piece is called Parlando. I'm of course singing this until now all the time, or more than 20 years already. But then, because nobody wanted to sing it, I just had to learn this piece by myself. And I sang it during the concert. It was possible, of course, because the piece was experimental. It was not much singing. It was rather more speaking, more strange sounds, more sonoristic research in voice, this kind of stuff. So it was possible, even if I was not singer, like a trained singer yet. And and I presented this during this concert, and then it was like a miracle later. All my colleagues, composers, started to write the pieces for me, and I had more and more concerts to present other pieces, and then more and more serious festivals or concerts. And suddenly, after some time, I realized, okay, if it goes in this direction, so maybe I should learn how to sing. And I started the normal classical voice education with all this Mozart, Puccini, Mahler stuff, which I also sing until now.
I also like it. I mean, I also do mostly contemporary music when I sing, but I still also do Mozart and the others. And I even would like to do it more, but I don't know how it is in Poland. But here, people, I think they want to put people in a box. So with me, they put me the label on contemporary singer. So some people don't even think of me, just the people who know me even better. And or sometimes I was once working with an organist who does lots of contemporary music, and he hired me then once for a wedding, and I sang like Schubert Ave Maria. And he was afterwards, he's like, you sing this so well. I should hire you also for other things. And it's this thing that I don't know if in Poland the people are more open-minded in that. But I like singing also so much music. And I mean, it's great that your composition took you to sing. And I mean, you have such a beautiful voice. I mean, I'm glad that you found it. And how is now the balance between the two? I mean, is it, do you do both on one day, or do you have phases where you just do this or that? I mean, as a singer, at least for me, I have the feeling I have to practice every day to stay in shape. How do you balance it?
Yes, I also try to practice every day, which is not, of course, every day possible, but I try. And it depends also on schedule sometimes. So when I have concerts, then I have to practice, and I have lots of concerts, so I mostly practice really every day. Yeah, and I absolutely love the situation to have both composition and being a performer. General doesn't matter if singer or player, because I have a feeling this situation gives you kind of access to the music from both sides, which is really extraordinary. Yeah, so you can, even if I sing piece by someone else, I also think as a composer. So I'm trying to do kind of research in the piece, what I like, what was the idea of composer, what she or he wanted to put into this piece, and opposite, of course, when I'm writing my own music, I'm thinking very much from performance side, because I know that music is not only on paper, but then this paper goes to performance, and then the real musicians are shaping your piece. So this is a very important aspect for me as a composer.
Yeah, and that it becomes alive. That's the greatest moment. Um, I mean, you said that you already have composed, and then you came to the singing. Did it help you then with also the classical training to write for voice, or did it make it more difficult? Because I often hear from composers, I mean, for some it's so natural to write for voice, and for some it's really challenging, or there are even some composers who don't want to write for voice because they say there's so much cliche about it. So did it help you to have studied it yourself?
Yes, I think so, because then you also learn the technical things, and you can use it maybe not only in a straight way, not only in the cliche way. You have much more options to explore. Yeah, so you know how it works. You know what is possible, what's not destroying your voice. You know, because there are different stereotypes, not only about cliche, but also that modern music will ruin your voice, that is not healthy, and so on and so on. I don't know, I'm thinking more than 20 years already, this kind of stuff, and sometimes very heavy stuff. And I'm still singing Mahler at the same time. So I don't know if singing Wagner 4 hours opera is not at least so heavy as one piece of contemporary music. So just singing is really heavy. It's like a physical work. Yeah? So you really have to put lots of effort. You really have to push somehow your organism to work. And this is really heavy work. Of course, we don't see it during the concert, and we as an audience. But yes, singers are working hard. This is this is definitely the truth. And choosing then your own aesthetic or your own style or your own vision for voice in music, then it's another story. Then you have to really do this research and explore. And I prefer to explore and do this research on myself. I mean, then I don't ruin nobody's else voice. I can ruin my own. But until now, it never happened. So I think it's everything. When you have a technique and when you learn how to sing classically, then I feel you are safe even to do strange things.
It's so interesting because I'm now interviewing so many singers and how different some approaches are and how also the similarities. And the thing is how my podcast actually got founded by me was that I started to write a book which was called New Music Doesn't Destroy My Voice. I translated it into English. So you touched the point that also worked in my brain, because sometimes people came up to me after a concert and like, Miss Kurka, doesn't this hurt your voice? And so I also started thinking about it. And for me, as more as I thought about it and observed me, I found more and more proof. No, it's exactly the opposite, because I think I mean, in the best case, we are so aware what we do. And I also got into new music where I had the feeling I didn't have that many role models like there now, or there were not as many teachers around like at university who teach contemporary singing. It has changed now. We have now great people teaching all over. But for me, that didn't exist back then. So for me, it was also, like you say, this experimental trial and error, or I tried it out as long as until I found the way that it really felt in my body. And I also like them the switching to whatever and handle aria. And then I'm like, this is going so easy, because I think for me it's now though that I make all my possibilities bigger. That's how it feels to me. And we have this colleague, I'm sure you know her too, Sara Maria San. She was also on the on this podcast, and she said that once there was like a, um, a summit or something about vocal health in Dresden, and there were doctors, and they said, and they looked whatever in the throats of I don't know how many singers, and they found the most when the voice was heard or had notes with classical opera singers. And so she thought about that, and she said, okay, there are much more of them, we are less. So I don't know how many contemporary singers they have also looked into the throat. But she also thinks that as an opera singer, you use your voice basically in the same way all the time. And you could get tense, or it's like one-sided movement. And when you do the thing we do, you challenge yourself so differently. So in a way, you cannot be tight or stiff in one spot, because the next piece already asked for something else. And I found that also a very great idea to look at it. And so what is your say on this, or when people want to work with you? I mean, you teach. What is your approach on singing new music, and why doesn't it hurt your voice?
This is everything true what you said. I mean, the most important thing for me is that you are singing not only with voice, you are singing, of course, with all your body, but also with all your mind, all your imagination. And so singing lots of repertoire from different centuries, from different aesthetics, from different styles, just makes your imaginary bigger, yeah. And then you have really how to say it, more to say through music, yeah. If you as a person are more more rich in different experiences. So not only voice, of course, voice is our instrument, voice is our tool, our main communicator, yeah. But this is only tool, and behind is a huge work of everything what we want to say using these tools.
Yes, we are much more than just the voice. And when I mean you have sang so many compositions yourself, is there any advice you could give composers who approach a composition for voice, or something you would like to let composers know, how to whatever make it easier, or what to maybe not write?
Um, I would never say not right anything, because it's always a way to find what composer has in mind and what's possible. Of course, the best is maybe to work with singer who is really open to explore and knows some contemporary techniques, because sometimes opposite, working only with classical singer can just block your imagination somehow when you, as you said, only one style of singing, only one kind of technical sound, yeah, kind of color. And then I can imagine that sometimes composers don't like to write for voice because, for example, they don't like this kind of aesthetic, yeah, and doesn't fit to his or her music or imagination, how they want to put voice in the compositions. But if you are open and you actually, even if you don't have singers, you can explore even in your own voice. I mean, there are so many things you can find, everyone can find in your voice if you are open enough to do this, yeah. So then it's actually quite easy, because this instrument that everyone has. You don't have to even borrow it from music school, yeah, to explore the instrument. So this is great, and also for composer, this is great. But also one more advice, which I would just accent maybe a little bit, is to remember that beautiful voice is also one of the way singers are singing. It's not only that contemporary music is only to explore, only to make strange sound, only to, you know, all this ugly scratching distortions. But singers are training so many years to be able to sing beautifully, that to remember that this is also one of the options that we can also put some nice phrases, nice melodies in a piece, because all the singers can do this, yeah, and I'm sure they will do this with pleasure.
Mm-hmm. And since you also worked yourself with so many composers, what do you appreciate in other composers when you work with them?
Especially the variety, and that all the pieces are different, and the composers are looking for completely different things and different than myself. I like to sing other pieces because I would never write the piece like that, for example, because this is something else. And but I like to sing it. I like to explore this kind of thing in my voice. So this is kind of be full of all the aspects in somehow in yourself.
And I know that you're also teaching at the University of Wrocław. And what are you teaching there? And how
I
is it
teach
going for you?
composition. I teach composition, not voice, because I am not often in the city. I have lots of concerts and I travel a lot. So teaching singing would be not possible to have not so systematical lessons. But for composition, it's of course it's possible. And I teach already 20 years at university. So yeah, I teach composition and instrumentation.
Great. And how is it in Poland? Do you have also lots of women composers coming to you, or how is it for women composers in Poland? I mean, here it's still a topic, and they want to bring the quote that we get more women composers at festivals. I mean, there's a lot happening, but maybe you already are more further ahead than Germany. I don't know. How is it over there?
Yes, of course, it's a topic all over the world right now. So it's the same in Poland. But I have lots of girls also in my class, and I also see that it's changing. It was much less when I started. But to be honest, I never had this kind of problem. I mean, also with myself, because the problem starts when you allow this problem be your own problem. So I never allow myself to have this problem that I'm woman in the field of composition. I also played percussion when I was a child, so I always had colleagues, boys colleagues around me. So it was also okay that I am alone or we are less. The same with composition. Of course, there was always less, and was percentage was always in this direction. And now it changed, and I think it depends on really on the people. I mean, I would never push anyone to compose, even if say woman or man, doesn't matter, because this is really hard job, to be honest. You really have to have really inner impact to do this. Being a classical composer, it's not like being composer for games, yeah, or for film music right now, which is more welcome in the world. Yeah. So being contemporary composer really means that you have to have this feeling inside, and you really need to write, because if you don't have it, better find another job.
Well, it's always so nice to hear. I mean, composers who have this natural self-confidence and they just do it. And I've met many women composers who are also so strong and so natural, and I love that. I really think it's a great attitude.
No, I think this is
If
not other way, because we are big minority. Classical world is a big minority, but contemporary music in this classical world is even less. So if there is a person who expects to be, famous and so on, then it's not this way, yeah. Then better to try another way to find your voice in music. But this really contemporary, really innovative music, really kind of research, kind of exploring things. This is really very narrow environment and between few people around, yeah. So you really need to like it to stay here. This is my opinion. I mean, because this is not. You have to just calculate whatever. Oh, this is good job. I can study this and I can have great job and earn lots of money. No, this is absolutely opposite. You are then giving your whole life for this, because this is not like working 8 hours per day. You are working just constantly. Your brain is working all the time because you are always full of ideas and you can never stop. So if you have this, then it's great, then it's fantastic, and you just live in your own imaginary world. But when you don't have it, it's really hard, because there are not many people interested in that, and this can be also frustrating. This can be also disappointing. So especially if you don't have this inner impact, it's really disappointing. Yeah, but if you have it, then maybe you don't care so much. You just like what you do, and then it's great.
it's really inspiring what you say, and I can totally feel you with your inner fire, and I think that's what all of us keeps us going. And I think that's also something common I find in all those talks I have, that people who end up in contemporary music are usually very curious and innovative, and that was also for me. I mean, I also started out as a classical singer, and I mean, I love Mozart, Handel, and so on, but there was still this already this this feeling, if I would just sing Mozart throughout a year, I would be bored. And when I got to know the contemporary music, I was more excited. So for me, it's also the mix of things.
Yeah, and also
Yeah.
realize working with many ensembles of modern music, I realized that people playing in those ensembles have a special, how to say in English, in German it's Charakterzüge, yeah. So what is I don't know how it is in English. But you have to be, as you said, you have to be curious, you have to be somehow brave, but also you have to be patient, because the pieces are much more difficult, and you have to be ready for spending much more time for preparing the piece than with classical pieces. So there are all the many things which just connect all the people working in a field of contemporary music, not only with love of contemporary music, but also with this Charakterzüge, yeah? That we are all patient, we are all curious, we are all, somehow searching or researching in everything, not only in music, just as a open-minded curiosity. Yeah.
You already touched my next question when you also say how we prepare pieces, and they can be more complicated. And sometimes when you, at least for me, when I start learning it, I don't know. I mean, I have this vague idea, but sometimes it's like it builds up on the way. How do you learn those pieces, or do you have any strategies you can share here?
Yes, definitely. And as I said, this is, first of all, we have to agree and accept that this is much longer process. And this is important because very often when we give ourselves too short time for preparing, this can be also disappointing, because then it means that this is too hard, this is too complicated, and everything is too, which is not true, because the result depends only on how much we want and how much effort we can put to this, and how much our time and energy we can put to prepare this. And actually, this is general, the difference between possible and the impossible. Yeah, the difference stays only in the determination of someone. Yeah, so it's the same in this situation. So we have to plan long in advance to prepare the piece to start to learn. And of course, at the beginning, it's a very hard process, and sometimes very boring also, because it's really complicated. You have to repeat many times. You have to sometimes, or very often, learn kind of new language of composer. Yeah, because all composers want to find another effect, special only for them. And then you have to learn sometimes new notation, new signs, do these connections in your brain, and so on. So it takes time, and this is quite hard process and hard time. But then one day, I don't know, after 2 weeks, maybe after 2 months, it can be really long time. One day it comes, okay, I know, okay, now I have it. But the difference is that this is not the end. This is the beginning. And now, when you learn all these difficult notes, or these pitches, or the rhythms, or the complicated coloristic research in your voice, and so on, then you only learn the basic notation. Then you have it already in your organism somehow. It's starting to be more and more organic with your body. And then it starts the process of creation. On this base, you just have next step to think, okay, so what composers want to say using all this, I don't know, strange sounds or beautiful melodies, and which voice should I use for this phrase and which for this phrase. We have this opportunity that we don't have to be fixed like in classical music in one position in a voice, one color of the voice. Actually, opposite. We have to search, we have to explore, we have to look for different voices for different moments, even in one piece. And between pieces, this is sure that we have to change the voice and find completely different colors. And this is also another step and hard work. So we cannot escape from this. Yeah. So we have to really put the effort, which color or which emotion, which I don't know, some coloristic details or nuances we can use, we can add to make the shape as composers like, yes, but also as we like in this piece and playing this music, this should be also a pleasure for us, I think. Yeah, that's important to like the piece and to find your own way to the piece and your own, how to say it, maybe your own message, which you can just share using this music. Of course, this is abstract message. You never say something concrete. Music is this word when you don't need words, yeah. But there's lots of emotions. There are lots of also communicating process, yeah, using the sounds. And sometimes there's something which you cannot express with words.
You said so many important things, and I also love it when we get after this hard work, as you said, to lay the base and then you add on layers. And when we really get to the point when we can be creative and really make music, because sometimes in the beginning, depending how complex the piece is, it's so much organization. And I mean, that's fine, that's part of the game. But for me, it's always most fulfilling when I can step above it. And it's always good. I mean, at least here, it doesn't always work that you have enough rehearsals or so. Somehow you make it, but as more as it can sink in and you really, yeah, find your way with it. It's greater. And the other thing that I also ask all singers, because I realized that with pitch, we often have different approaches. I mean, there are the singers who have perfect pitch. That's one story. And then there are singers who are very, very good, or because they sing in a vocal ensemble with a tuning fork and they don't mind to, bang it up. And then there are people, my first instrument was actually the piano. So for me, I study everything with the piano, and I always see the connections to other voices right away. I can really kind of get everything very fast, and I also like to be part of what is happening around me. So I realized that there are different approaches. I also work a lot with muscle memory because I don't have perfect pitch. I have a relative good pitch, and probably you also know that there's some pitches I can always hit for some reason. And so how do you deal with pitches? Because I find that interesting for composers, because sometimes they think I can just write anything, or she whatever screams or breathes for half an hour and then she has to sing a pitch, and then I'm like, where do I get this pitch? And I mean, for some singers it's no problem because they have perfect pitch. Or I also interviewed a singer who also was an oboe player, and she's so much also kind of programmed on A that she can relate everything on that almost like perfect pitch. So how is it for you?
Yeah, I also don't have perfect pitch, and I also believe in muscle memory, which is quite easy when you learn modern music because you really spend lots of hours with the piece. As I said, this is always difficult, and not always, but mostly they're difficult pieces. And it also means that there are many hours spending with the pieces, so you are repeating, and then it also goes so organically to your muscles that it's quite comfortable somehow, yeah. But yeah, of course, the tuning fork or kind of electrical tuning fork or whatever, this is everything possible. I'm not scared of all these tools because they're not singing instead of us. Yeah, we have to learn the piece anyway. So even if you sometimes help yourself with any tool, it's fine. I mean, why not? Someone has perfect pitch, so they have these tools, but just programmed in their brain. So if we don't have them, we can have external tools, which is also fine.
Yeah, great. And for me, singers are, or I feel that we're like sports people because we practice every day. And it's also, in my opinion, very important that we stay healthy and in good shape. And so how do you keep yourself fit and healthy?
I would say sleeping is in the first position. So which is not always, of course, possible because when I have a deadline as a composer, then I am working like crazy and not sleep at all. But when I am in time when I have lots of concerts, then really I try to sleep regularly, and this is really important because voice is part of organism. So if you don't have this, relaxed and healthy muscles in your body, then it's not good.
Also, very something so proud. I always loved sleeping and also needed to maintain myself. But I already have met other people as well who sleep very little, and I'm very impressed by that. But everybody is different. And when you go through your day, are you then a very focused, disciplined person, or how do you handle all the stuff you have to do?
Mostly, I mean, like a perfect day, to imagine perfect day and free day. I like to compose in the morning or during the day and to sing in the evening. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because I can better concentrate in the morning than in the evening. So then I spend this time for composition work and yeah, and also then I don't have to start my day with different melodies from other pieces. I have like more free space for my own music. And then in the evening, I can just switch to other music and to practice. And yeah, so that would be the perfect day. Of course, which is not always like that, because when you have lots of concerts, you have absolutely crazy schedules. So lots of rehearsals, lots of travels, lots of, things which are necessary to have this kind of lifestyle, and you have to deal with this. So the difference, even if it's absolutely complementary for me, being a composer and performer from this meritorical point of view, there's completely different lifestyle. Because of course, when we imagine composer, we are imagining sitting in front of the sea, having inspiration and lots of free time and thinking and writing and relax. But singing concerts and being a singer, like a busy singer, it means you have to just run between your planes, between your rehearsals, learn new pieces, spend lots of time for this. And yeah, so everyday life and expectations what you have concerning these two different jobs are completely different.
And who or what has played the greatest role in shaping you, or what inspires you?
Difficult question. I have a feeling that I met many fantastic people on my way, and I always try to learn something from everyone, all my fantastic teachers, or even all the composers which I met and could learn. But on the other hand, I have to say that Iceland can be this kind of inspiration, which is so strong. Because already many years ago, I fall in love in this country when I started to travel to visit, and then more and more often, and now I'm regularly there. And the beginning was so strong and so, I mean, this contrast and this huge impulse from nature, which you can have there, staying in front of absolutely amazing and extraordinary and out of imaginary, powerful, beautiful world. We sometimes forget about this being in a city, yeah, or being in front of computer and so on. So this, I feel this impulse and this impact and this huge inspiration which is coming from this place, this shaped me, I think, very much. And I also, years later, I realized that this is so strong and this is so important for, especially for artists and especially for composers, I mean, from my point of view, but also probably writers and painters and all the people who create art. that one day with my husband we just realized that that would be great to do kind of a residency for young Polish, for now, for the moment, composers, to give them also this chance, this possibility to face with this huge inspiration which comes from that place, from the nature. And we found that this kind of artistic residency in Iceland, and every year two composers can go and spend some time working, writing music, or just being inspired by this place.
That sounds really, really amazing. And I also think nature is so powerful and touching and basically teaches us everything. Everything is there, what is also important for us, how we are in the world. And yeah. And what does success mean for you?
Success? I don't know. I never think about this. I mean, I'm doing what I like and I am happy about this. So if there is success with this, then great. But I'm not doing this for success. Yeah, I do this because I like it. And as I said to you at the beginning, I just really had this inner strong feeling that somehow I have to do this. But yeah, I never did it for success.
Well,
I
that's
mean, it's
amazing.
difficult to say about success in contemporary music.
I mean, it's so great that everything comes out of you and leads you to the right places like Iceland. I really enjoy talking with you, but we're actually at the last question, and I want to know from you which is a tip which what you would like to give young artists.
So probably the most difficult thing now is to find yourself somehow in the world, because we are so much we have so many things we are influenced by. We have so many, I don't know, social media, so many pictures from television, from everywhere, so many information, necessary or not necessary, mostly not necessary. So life now is about selection, not about choosing. Yeah. So in this house, in this super busy and crazy world, it's really easy to lost yourself and to follow something. For everyone is differently, which is, I think, at least for me, not the perfect way. I I miss a little bit in today's world, but also think about this as a value to really to work on yourself, to really to know what you like, what is your idea of music. Doesn't matter if this is about composing, about creating or performing. Also in performance field is lots of space for your own creation or your own interpretation and your own voice. So this will be probably the most difficult somehow, but also the most beautiful thing when you are trying, because this is not about finding, it's about looking for this, it's about searching, it's about continuously searching around what does it mean for me, not for someone else, not because people are doing this or because this is a trendy this season or whatever. No, just what does it mean for me and why, if I really like it, or I'm doing this for, as you said, for success or for other things. This could be nice, but I think this has too short legs, yeah, for this kind of thinking. If you really are looking for this kind of strong inspiration for your whole life, not only for one season, then it's really important to be a little bit out of this noisy world and try to be focused on really your own preferences. And it doesn't matter if someone else likes it or not. It's important what what you feel about this, and try to find this answer is not easy way.
Yeah, that's very, very important. Thank you so much. Well, I really enjoyed talking to you, and thank you also for your great ideas and your openness. And I wish you all the best with whatever you do and plan. And we definitely will put your website onto the show notes if people want to listen more to your music or your singing. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, and also good luck with all the young composers, singers, and musicians, and also melomans and music lovers.
This was the interview from today. I hope that it inspired you. And please send me your emails, send me your feedback, because I love to interact with you. Thank you very much that you tuned in with me today. I really, really hope that you liked it. And please tell your friends and colleagues about this podcast. I thank you very much. I wish you all the best. Live your music, live your life, and see you next time. Yours, Irene.